Well, welcome back to the Total Cover Shorts channel. That was unexpected. Yeah, I know, man. 13-12 Georgia last year, and Lexington. We remember that game. Kentucky would argue that they should have won that game. There's a pretty big missed call on that one. I'll argue that Kentucky should have won this game. And I really do hate to say that, but when you outgain us by double the total amount of yards that we had, um, you know, I would have forced Texas to score a touchdown because I don't think that we'd shown that we could move the ball 25 yards through the red zone and pick up 6. So I'm not going to even argue that right now. Yeah, I get the copium, but we got to talk about a lot of things because there was some really, really bad stuff tonight that should have cost Texas a win. Very undisciplined in key moments. You obviously can point out many things throughout this game, but you want to talk about the very end with DeAndre Moore not getting down in bounds, saving Kentucky 40 seconds. Obviously, that they don't have that minute that they had to go to get into field goal range and make it look pretty easy. Unfortunately, the way that Kentucky moved the football in the 2-minute drills in both halves, that was pretty tough. But yeah, let's talk about all of it, man. There's a lot of issues, man, that are getting exposed, and at the end of the day, man, it is a W. And I'm very, very grateful. This would taste a lot worse if you do not find a way to win that game. But have we had a win in the Steve Sarkisian era really that is felt worse, than that win? Um, the lack of running game, we had a couple moments, but Kentucky snuffed out pretty much every time that we wanted to get our chips legs going on the ground. And our defense was just on the field so long, it's really hard to put too much blame on those guys. You hold a team to, under a couple scores, like you're going to win a lot of games. But they were tired. They gave up the late drive. You gave up the touchdown drive. Then the second half is when they looked beatable, and Kentucky looked pretty dang confident. McGowan's a good back, ran hard. But then again, Cutter Boley, I'm always going to give both sides credit where they deserve it. And Boley played pretty well, man. He's a good athlete. We took pretty bad angles with him. I think we might have underestimated his athleticism a little bit at times. But in the long run, man, this is about Texas and what they did and a lot of the things that they did not do, to play a successful, clean football game. You talked about winning the turnover battle. I mean, and it is bad luck, I guess, a little bit, but we tried to scoop and score one of them, so you can't call that bad luck. But when Kentucky puts 4 fumbles on the ground and we can't recover anyone, a single one of them, man, that is hard to stomach, And so, yeah, Anthony Hill tried to scoop and score the one, and I posted on Twitter that I don't even blame him because it's hard to trust that the offense was going to put together a drive. It's not like it was inside the 5-yard line. Look at our scores, man. It came off punt returns, and it came off overtime. You know what I mean? We were not able to go length of the field outside of that one drive where he took the 13-10 lead. I'm not going to smile, Gage. I love you. I'm trying not to smile. But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's embarrassing. I mean, yeah, you can't even sit there and feel super confident about saying, coming into this game, I would have said, yeah, there's very, very small chance Texas loses in Starkville. Jeff Lebby's a pretty dang good OC, man. He's going to have a lot of tempo. Our defense was just on the field a lot. We do have depth, but no, you can't sit there and say with the way that Texas looked on offense that you can confidently predict them to beat anybody at this moment. And again, I'm going to root for the guys. I thought we had seen a little bit of growth with Arch Manning going into from Sam Houston State to Florida to Oklahoma. I've been on that train, but man, your offense can't look like that behind 16. Like in my opinion, you almost got to the point of where you needed to pull him. Like genuinely felt that way, and I never thought I was going to sit there and say that on this channel or anywhere else. I was almost calling for Matthew Caldwell, and not for a full season change, but it didn't feel like we could go move the football and pick up any points with Arch at the helm in that second half. It really, really did not seem like he was back to being sped up a little bit, and there's some really, really easy throws. with the arch that we saw against Oklahoma, Texas probably wins this game by 14 or 17 points because we're going to be on the field a little bit longer. Defense is going to be less tired. And a couple of big plays that he missed would have been explosive plays. You look at the crossover Ryan Wingo with his speed and with the man coverage that they were in. This is early in the game. Ryan could have ran for 15 or 20 or more. The Jack Andrews miss. There's a couple of just really, really big misses. He skipped the ball to Ryan Wingo on a deep end route. There's several of them, man. And so you want to talk about the coaches, we're gonna have to talk about it all. I'm scatterbrained because we're coming fresh off of watching this thing, and so throw me thoughts up here in the comments so that I can continue to go back to certain thoughts. Undisciplined. All right, reflection of the coaches again. Offensive line, a lot of pre-snap penalties. I said last week I reserved the right to hold my apology to Kyle Flood until further notice. I needed to see continued improvement. I thought we did take a step up in play from the offensive line. In the Florida game to the Oklahoma game, kind of hard not to, though, when you allow 36 or 37 pressures, whatever the hell it was. This was regression in a big way. Kentucky does have a D-line that is capable. They are a good D-line. They spend a lot of money in the portal on their D-line, the best position group on that football team. But this is the University of Texas, guys, and we spent a lot of money on our offensive line through recruiting over the years. The development, the preparation, and then again the execution has just been so poor for the majority of this season. I want them to figure it out. All right, and Kentucky did a good job of bringing pressure and hitting some of our weak spots and testing out Nick Brooks at left guard and putting pressure on him to make the right move and the right read under pressure. A couple times he did not. So again, these are good coaches we're up against, and they're not going to make it easy. But it just seems like we're making it as hard as we possibly can be. As far as play calling, sometimes early in the game, you're moving the ball, not a ton, but you picked up a first down on the first series, and then I want to say the second series we picked up another first down, and that is when you see the 3rd and 3, the reverse pass or the reverse flea flicker. All right, let's be physical. Or let's line arch up and let him make the proper reading to get some confidence going. But that's just a gimmicky soft call, in my opinion. It's not something that I ever would have dialed up in that moment. Again, not a play caller anymore. But I'll tell you what, man, we would have had a little bit more attitude trying to get the energy level going. That's just you're banking on making a really good throw. One, if there is any coverage at all, and there was great coverage. But for two, that it being open, Arch could maybe tuck and run. That's what gives yourself a chance to be successful. Okay, and you've done so by getting in the 3rd and 3 spot in the first place. All right, if you have a lot of 3rd and 3s, you're going to pick up a lot of first downs. Not with that type of crap. All right, so I didn't like that at all, man. But again, still, that's not the only question mark about play calling. Like, how did Sark let this side of the ball become what it's gotten to? Where in the hell is the identity? We don't have a single player, in my opinion, that anybody else on the other side of the football field is going to fear as far as when they're prepping for Texas. And these coaches are like, okay, they got Xavier Worthy. They got a Bijan Robinson. They've got a Jonathan Brooks. You've got to commit numbers. We just don't have the pop right now, man. And again, Arch and Wingo aren't the connection isn't solid right there. Livingston has big play, potential and ability, but it's felt like we didn't target him very often at all tonight. The lack of run game. I thought Christian Clark ran well tonight. I wish we'd saw him get the ball a little bit more, but with the score being what it was, I feel like they wanted the guy that they know exactly what they're getting in Trey Wisner. I'm going to get to all these comments. Connor Robertson did have a rough time out there. We're not going to go as far as we should never see the field again because it's not like Cole Hudson's been perfect out there so far. Again, want Cole to succeed, want Cole to get healthy first and foremost. The Iowa, the SEC, that hurts because it's true. Iowa can score points right now. I mean, at least a little bit, Their O-line's better than our O-line. But our scheme, which at one point you never would have said, hey, is Iowa's scheme comparable to ours? Again, I'm just leaning into it, man. And Jonathan, I'm glad that you can come in here without, being mean, because I did tell you to be quiet earlier. And it's just, again, I'm going to be critical just like you guys are, man. At the same time, I'm going to support the guys, the team, yada, yada, because, yes, I do love the school. But I'm not shy from critiquing anybody. And I have very much said after the Florida game that I have major question marks about Kyle Flood's future at Texas. And coming into the season, I thought that of any coach, he had the most to prove. And so what's he proved to you guys? Hypothetically speaking, who would you want as an O-line coach? Who would you want as an offensive coordinator? Just hypothetically speaking. Okay, I'm not starting any rumors. I don't see a way that everybody gets a pass for what's happened on the offensive side of the football. This is real poor, man. I mean, big humans doesn't equate or doesn't equal talent. I think the guys are talented, but I mean, like when everybody, it just seems like nobody's really hitting that ceiling, and I hate to say it. And Calvin Banks, damn good player, could have been a little bit better of a run blocker. You know, guys that were in the system for multiple years, like feels like everybody still has a little bit of a flaw, and some have major flaws. And again, want the kids to be successful. But it's fair to question if they're getting proper development. And again, you know, we're weak on the point of attack. We're a little bit soft at times. Had way more attitude against Oklahoma. Did we make Oklahoma our Super Bowl? Like, I don't want to say that, but I mean, if we look like that each and every week, as far as the penalties, you know, pass protection, the lack of game plan, in my opinion, then it's hard to say that we didn't. All right, and I don't want to give those goobs the credit for that. You know, Sam Pittman for an O-line coach would be fun. Um, you know what, man? I would love nothing more than to coach some or to call some plays, you know, with Texas's type of athletes. But again, these guys know tons more than I do. I can't, Bart. Congrats on your win. I'll get into that. We'll have a whole show about that one too. But yeah, this is what it feels like. It feels like it's criminal. It feels like we stole a win. It's nasty because they outplayed us. They doubled us up on time of possession. They kicked our butt. They outrushed us. Cutter Boley outperformed Arch Manning. Their special teams was worse than ours. Jack Boomeister might have been the best player we had tonight. As far as, you know, I mean, I'm including that with offense. Or Ryan Niblett, sorry. Niblett and Jack, you know, I mean, it feels like contributed more to this game than our offense did as far as towards the victory. Obviously, you can say that about Niblett because of punt returns. It's really hard to watch, guys, because, man, we've seen Sark do some absolutely beautiful things as far as a play caller. His script has fallen off a little bit. And I know he's more poking and prodding and trying to set things up and find out what type of coverages he'll see and what looks and sets he'll get, yada, yada. I get that. But wouldn't it just be nice to score a single point against a power four opponent in the first quarter? We have 0 through 4 games. 0. Not Florida, not Oklahoma, not Ohio State, not tonight. And again, credit to Kentucky for balling and playing real hard, playing well. They're disciplined. Again, the defensive line played well. They played better. They played better than Texas did. They deserved to win that game, in my opinion, more than Texas did. But Texas stole one. All right. And that's not me being a hater towards Texas. I love the guys, but the stats aren't going to lie to you there. I'm not a big stats guy. Stats are for losers. They had better opportunities, or more opportunities, rather. We stood up tall, you know, just inside of our territory time and time again. Yeah, our kids deserve to win on the defensive side of the ball is the way they play. Yeah, but I mean, offensive side, it's just really hard to sugarcoat it. It's really bad from a performance execution standpoint, game plan, discipline. You know, so many penalties, so many mistakes. Even, you know, the defense wasn't free from a few undisciplined, you know, penalties themselves. They almost. I thought that 5-yard penalty then might cost us more than it did, just because I thought Kentucky might take a shot at the end zone. At the end of the day, Texas has one loss. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll give you that, one single loss. But does this performance tonight, does that draw inspiration, you know, for going forward? And especially when you take a look at our November schedule, because let me tell you, we've got Mississippi State, and we'll probably right the ship a little bit and find a way to beat them because those guys don't have a ton of depth. We should be able to run the ball a little bit. And again, I don't know if they have the offensive line to hold up against Texas in the pass rush. And I mean, again, the defense is good, guys. But look at November, man. Vanderbilt, all that misdirection and Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers and a pretty dang good scheme. They're going to score a couple of touchdowns. They're going to score a few points. Like, can Texas go out and put an elite to get performance together against a team like that? Maybe, but like, why are we shouldn't have to worry about that. We should be able to score 20 points in a ball game and help these guys out. And it's just like, I don't know if you can guarantee that Texas does that. Oklahoma game, we scored 16 points, and Ryan Niblett obviously contributed to the last touchdown. And it is a team game. The points do count. But it's just like, man, I have to start scoring the ball on defense. So, I mean, that's why I don't blame Ant Hill for trying to scoop and score. I'm not going to call him goofy for that. I had no trust that our offense would take advantage of that opportunity. So you got a Vanderbilt You got Georgia. All right, Vandy's shown they can score the football right now. Georgia might not can stop a nosebleed, but they can put the ball in the end zone, and they've got weapons everywhere, and they've got an offensive line that's getting better and better. They can run, they can throw. Gunner. I think Gunner is a pretty good player. I really do. Obviously, is. Then you have Arkansas, Bobby Petrino, Taylor Green. You just saw them put up 42 against A&M. Now, again, I think A&M played some pretty poor defense in this game, but Bobby Petrino, Taylor Green, my point is by scheme alone, by talent alone, they're going to put up some points. It's just hard to think, that Texas coming into this year that we sit here and think, man, there's a potential that we lose 4 games, but there truly is. And if you're not careful, you could go 7-5. You have got to figure something out on this offense. I said the Sark needs to take a long look in the mirror. You get to the Oklahoma game, hoping that he had done so. The game plan was solid. It was solid. Outside zone has been a Sooners' weakness in that matchup. Seems like we took advantage. We did. Arch was good on third downs, efficient throughout the game, 16 for 21. And then you followed up with that. I needed to see a dialed-in game plan, and I didn't see it, man. I really, really didn't. Needed to see a dialed-in football team as far as stopping the pre-snap penalties. What the hell is going on with the punts? What is going on there? How are we picking up pre-snap penalties or illegal motion penalties? Punt, like, have we not punt the football a lot this year? Have we not figured this out yet? Silly little things like that where you can't be a team that goes on the road and wins in tough environments. And I'm not saying that Kentucky and Lexington's the toughest environment in Kroger Field, but I'm also not going to disrespect it because it's an SEC game at night. But championship teams don't do that. And Texas, it seems like we might be as far as we've been all year from being a championship team, because that is just not the Kentucky team that has a talent level in their back seven that really should have slowed this offense down for Texas. But again, we missed 2 or 3 explosive plays from Arch Manning, and then a lot of times we're not protecting Arch Manning. Should we start a Cabo fund? I don't know, man, but I can tell you this: there's going to be some type of funding going around, and our offense is going to look completely different next year in a lot of spots. It's hard not to imagine that there's a position group that won't be, up for grabs in a sense. And I think I saw Kieran tweet that. I have to agree with him. We're just not explosive. I don't think anybody fears us. We're not a threat, in my opinion, to just consistently put together drives. Everybody they know that we'll shoot ourselves in the foot, whether it be negative run play on first or second down. It seems like half our run plays go for negative yards. I know that's not the truth, but it feels that way. Breakdowns in protection, pre-snap penalties, we just holding penalties have been good at that as well. And again, I'm not trying to be overly reactive to a win, overly negative, in reaction to a win. But again, man, like, that's not the way I thought anyone, no one thought the game would go like that. Not a single person. I mean, maybe not me. I thought this team would come in a little bit more focused. You'd be a little bit more dialed in, and it's just disappointing. Again, at the end of the day, a win is a win. And whoever made the first comment on the show, Georgia did go into Lexington and win 13-12 last year, and they ended up winning the SEC. So maybe in the end they right the ship. It's just really, really hard to feel like they do at the moment. And again, I'm not trying to be negative on the kids. I just think that there's a lack of preparation going on. And again, how does the offense get this bad? With an offensive-minded head coach, it doesn't just happen in fall camp. It's something that's been lingering, around for a while, and just, the necessary fixes weren't addressed, whether it be maybe a receiver in the portal, running back in the portal, lineman in the portal. And that's not to throw mud or slander the guys that we have. It's just that we need more. We really do. We need more. We need a guy that we know, hey, this 3rd and 2, he's picking this up, almost not regardless of how it's blocked, but a guy that we know that we throw a 50-50 ball to, he can come up with it. A guy that we know is going to be open here or there. No, man, he was never going to the draft after this year. I could have told you that. And a lot of people, if you're listening, I tried to tell people there would be struggles, but I'm not conceding defeat, but I'm fully admitting that the trend line we were on after Sam Houston State, Florida, and OU, because I'm still of the opinion that Arch played well enough to win that game in Florida. I really, really am. I put that loss more on the offensive line, and then, of course, some bad defensive play. But he was never going, guys. He was never going pro after this year. I I never was going to see that. He did not look pro ready last year, clearly. Again, he had a full off season and was going to have a season this year. It just, to me, man, I never really gave that much credence. So I don't think anybody will give it any now. So it is what it is. Yeah, man, the next stretch is not going to be easy. You look at this, and Mississippi State's going to go in there and give us hell. Jeff Lebby's super familiar with Texas and the program. He's been a part of the only Oklahoma win of the Brent Venables era versus Texas. And so do I expect him to make it easy? No. As you have a Brandon Thompson, you have guys in that Mississippi State program who will be, motivated. Of course, it's college football, man. Of course, you're going to be motivated. But the first time that Texas travels to Starkville in the SEC, you're going to have some people there. Yeah, Brandon Drivel agreed. But Vanderbilt, I mean, Vandy looks damn good, man. Now, again, I thought LSU, the hype was fake hype coming into the season. I said I would believe it when I see it. I had them at a 9-3 upside or 9-3 ceiling, potential to go 8-4. So I'm not trying to flex on being potentially right about LSU, but we're still learning about Vandy because, again, we saw what Ole Miss did with LSU. These teams are pretty good at making LSU's offense look pedestrian. And again, what a better time never a better time for, the next week for LSU to figure it out a little bit. Guys, I mean, Yogan Bart, I appreciate you being here, and you're not even throwing mud and slandering Texas right now, considering your team just won a game. But there's just a lot of issues, guys, and it's just you can't put the pressure on the defense week in and week out to go out and pitch, 10-point performances or better. It's just really, really hard, man, and especially when you're getting out. The last graphic I saw, I think Kentucky had 23 first downs to our 7. Our defense was on the field for a long time, and we do have depth. We do have really good athletes, but we are mixing in a lot of young guys. All right, some of these situations, are big boy situations, high pressure situations. Nerves can cause breakdowns. They don't quite have the experience. So my point is, man, it's just help them out. Stay on the field for a little bit longer. Sark and this O-line, Kyle Flood, you got to figure this out. It definitely feels like Kyle Flood is coaching for his job. And again, like I just don't think anybody can get through this offseason clean as far as the coaches, considering how far off this offense is from what many, many people expected it to be. There's no excuse, man. There's really not. Am I calling for Sark's head? Absolutely not. Look at what he's done at Texas. But am I calling for Sark to absolutely make changes to this offense? I mean, I think whatever Texas does the rest of the way throughout the season, you're still going to have a lot of the same underlying issues. But luckily, you have a really damn good defense in your back pocket that if you help them out at all, you are going to be at minimum in every single game you play with a good chance to win these games. But you got to help them, man. You got to find some points. You got to find some time of possession. You got to find something on the ground. Not trying to be overly negative, guys. I'm really, really not. You know how I feel about the program. You know how I feel about Sark. I'm not calling it the worst game of the Sark era because the Arkansas loss was worse in 2021. But that is the worst win, in my opinion, of the Sark era. It's hard to think of any. I don't know. Maybe there's a non-con game I'm not thinking of that we just felt, we won and it felt really gross or we played gross. But hey, man, a win is a win. All right. So let's find some positives. You're seeing the defense is flying all over the football field. If they were able to make the couple of pickups on fumbles, even if they pick up 2 of the 4, pick up, the muff punts, the game probably looks a lot different. Texas does have another phase of the game working with special teams. And, albeit there's a couple of penalties that I was frustrated with. Ryan Niblett looks dynamic as a punt returner. And so there's a lot of things, where I'm just like shaking my head. But understanding the game of football and understanding field position and Jack Boomeister, I feel like I say it wrong every time. We're calling him Aussie Jack. Every time that I see Jack, he delivers. He had a great game tonight. He's a weapon. Ryan Niblett appears to be an emerging weapon. You have a defense that's probably only going to get better if you can just keep them off the field a little bit. And you're going to continue adding experience depth with these new guys. So you're going to be in games. The offense just has to help them get over the hump a little bit easier. And then again in November, it's like, yeah, we better have something going on the offense coming out of that bye week because Vandy's going to be ready. I guarantee you, Arkansas comes to DKR luckily, but going to Athens looks maybe scarier than ever because they can score the football. This Kentucky defense hasn't been great at all. They've been giving up over 300 yards a game through the air. And you saw what Arch Manning in Texas did. Maybe we took their secondary for granted. I don't know, but we maybe should have run the ball more. Curious to know what y'all think. So I feel like I'm rambling. I'm frustrated. I'm really, really frustrated, man, because we have a better program than what's been represented right now. The undisciplined stuff is that's bothersome. That's tough. And again, it's been consistent amongst the offensive line since Sark and Kyle Flood got here. Now it's hurting us maybe more than it ever has because we don't have the firepower on offense. We're probably as bad in pass protection, and we are as bad in pass protection as we've been since Sark got here. So our flaws, man, they're being exposed a little bit more. Arch Manning hero ball, like I hate to say that again, but it's just like it looks like even the simplest of passing concepts, we can't pull those off, and so we got to get Arch on the run for him to be accurate, which is tough, man. 7-5, it's I've never once entertained this thought until now, but man, I mean, you better bring it and better bring it quickly, because I'm telling you, Vandy looks good. They believe Clark Lee is a hell of a coach, a hell of a coach. A&M looks good on offense. They look really, really good on offense. All right, Marcel's much improved. They're a lot faster at wideout. And it's getting to the point now where it's like, well, we can't even with a win there, it's like don't even really spoil their season because they're not gonna. They got LSU and Missouri. They literally win one of those two games are going to be guaranteed a playoff spot. I don't know, man. I'm in the dumps. This sucks. We've got to figure something out and do it in a hurry. I'll be a little more positive tomorrow. I'll be on Inside Texas for the rewatch. Me, Eric, and Connor. And again, after I rewatch it a few times, maybe we can pinpoint something that Texas did do well on the offensive side of the ball, something that we maybe can hammer into going forward. But yeah, the lack of creativity, the time of possession. In the second half, we went in there and flipped that time of possession in the Oklahoma game. I was really hoping we could lean into that again because we got the ball in the second half. Nah, man. No. Where are those 2 wins? Again, nothing will be easy. Jeff Lebby at home, good schemer. I feel good about Kentucky. I would expect a much better performance as far as offensively than just blocking because I don't think Mississippi State has the front that Kentucky does. And I don't think that Mississippi State has the offensive line that Kentucky does. Not calling Kentucky world beaters, but that's in the middle of the pack offensive line in the SEC, and that's better than what Mississippi State has. So I don't think Mississippi State runs the ball as well. They will use more tempo. But again, if we can't hit the simple passing plays, if we can't go a single series of downs without committing a pre-snap penalty or a hold, you can't sit there and say, oh, yeah, I feel really good about that. Not a single game, in my opinion, is going to be easy down the stretch. Just because, for one, Vandy's tough. Georgia, Arkansas, Taylor Green, if he's healthy, and Bobby Petrino, they've got weapons there. They've got weapons. And then again, A&M, their defense kind of melted down the stretch late last year. Pretty rough performance today. We'll see what they look like. But again, that offense is pretty tough. Colin Klein is doing a really, really good job with them. Brian Cushing on that O-line. Potentially the best O-line in the SEC. They run the ball. Feels like better than anybody else. And today they did it. Again, Arkansas's defense is pretty porous. So, Bart, maybe, but I don't know. Why did Christian Clark not get the ball more? Why did Christian Clark? Why did he not see the football more? Like where he ran well. Sorry, I got the velos. This is not a sponsorship, but I'm about to pop a few in my mouth after watching this. Christian Clark, man, he ran really well, really decisive. Had great burst. But where was he at, man? A little bit more in that second half. Again, maybe that's just because of the score and we let it dictate the running back rotation who was on the football field. Yeah, I mean, Starkville, in my opinion, is a lot tougher place to play than Kentucky. So how do we look there? I don't know, dude. It's really, really disheartening. I had been of the opinion, just give it time, let them grow, and it looked like the growth was slower than we wanted, but it looked like the growth was there. And tonight's a big night in regression. Again, it's post Oklahoma. All right, we've had an emotional 2 weeks where we go over there and we get whipped in Gainesville, and then we come to the home state and we get Oklahoma and all that goes with that in Red River. But this is ugly, man. And I'm not trying to be. I'm really, really not. I'm gonna sit there and cheer him on or root for him as hard as ever. But it's just like, what and how did it get to be this bad on the offensive side of the ball? And again, I mean, not trying to sit there and make predictions. This is not of inside Texas's opinion. This is strictly just my opinion. Like I would not just not expect, to see the same offensive coaching staff in its fullest. That's all I'll say. And I think y'all all know what I'm alluding to there. Offensive analyst Mike Gundy, offensive coordinator Mike Gundy, start talking to me right now. I love Mike Gundy. Go four corners. We need to go four corners, man. This offense is doo-doo. So, yes, we need to go four corners. We need to stall, triple option, wing T, slot T, power T. I don't give a shit, man. Script T, just something that's a better. Like, this is, and again, I was an offensive minded coach, but I was never. I'm not sitting here pretending to be smarter than the coaches at the University of Texas. We're just venting. We're having fun. All right, this is fun. Football's fun, right? Everybody's having a good time. It's not over. That's a good point. This one, it's not over because you can still build. You can still figure out who needs to be a part of this program and this offense going forward. We have some young receivers who I think are going to be dogs. All right. And it's hard to blame the cast of receivers right now for all the things that have gone wrong in the passing game. I don't think you can. We've had a couple drops here and there. But, man, the passing department, like we've been so inconsistent with pass blocking and then making the actual throws. Ryan Mingo could have had a big night tonight. Jack Andrews could have had a big night tonight compared to what he's been doing. Jack Andrews should have picked up more yards on the one throw that was missed to him than he's had in the last 2 or 3 games combined. And so my heart breaks for that dude. I mean, honestly, because he comes over from Cal. Love his dad, good dude, and it's fun to talk to him. And so excited to come into the season. And he's not like expressing disappointment. Or anything like that when we talk. I just I can tell how high of hopes were for Jack and for this offense, and it's just not getting there. And so when we missed that throw, man, I was super excited, super pumped to see that. Psych. It's tough, man. Feel bad for these guys. They start too stubborn. Coaches are all stubborn, man. You know what I mean? Sorry, I don't know how to get to. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know if he's too stubborn. There's the comment. And it's just a matter of maybe he's got too much on his plate. You're calling plays. It's a lot to worry about. You got to oversee the defense and special teams. Maybe. And again, I have faith that Sark will get this right. I don't think Sark's scared to make moves. Read into that what you will. It's just I don't think it'll be an issue. Now, as far as him taking, putting some pride down and giving up the reins to be play calling, I mean, we need more creativity. We got to have some more type of ground. I'm just saying, an offensive coordinator and an O-line coach, sometimes it goes hand in hand. And again, not going to be the smartest guy in the room, but to me, I'm ruling that as a possibility more so than ever before. Just because, I mean, people have to be held accountable for how bad this offense has gotten, and it starts with the man up at the top of the totem pole, and Steve Sarkisian, looking in the mirror, figuring out, hey, what the hell do I have to do to get this right? Because all of a sudden you're going to have recruits and kids that don't trust your program, don't trust your growth on that side of the football, and they're going to go play for the Lane Kiffins and the other cats out there that can put up easy points out of nowhere. Do we have an arch discussion? We can have an arch discussion, just not right now, because we know that he's going to be the starting quarterback against Mississippi State. After the Mississippi State game, I think it's more than fair. If he struggles again. But I will tell you, I was at the point where I would have benched him for a drive or for the remainder of the game there early in the fourth quarter. And I know that sounds silly, but he was rattled. He was very, very rattled. So I love you guys. This is fun. I promise to talk to you guys, but man, watching that hurt my soul. That was really, really difficult. What would you do? What are your fixes? Do you think Texas needs an OC? Do you think Texas needs an O-line coach? Do you think Texas Arch Manning is the issue? Yeah, the offense. You can't give up on the run, man. And I don't know if it was because we were having negative plays. Again, we did have pretty consistent pre-snap penalties in this one. Do I think there should be a discussion? No, not yet. Not yet. I wouldn't do that yet. I'm waiting for further evidence here because I do think you saw a real efficient game. And I do think that most of the night pass protection stunk. And so it goes hand in hand. The pass protection's bad, the kid's getting rattled. But then again, he has it's not like you can't, he's indefensible because he missed some very easy throws tonight, which were not due to pass protection on a couple of them, just due to him reacting a little bit quicker mechanically than he should. Body sped up. He wasn't making a smooth throw, just kind of more like a baseball shortstop with a quick flick of the wrist, and just feet weren't set at times. I think one time his shoulders weren't fully squared. And again, I'll get to the all 22 and I'll go through it. But, so that makes Sark's job a lot easier if Arch can complete a pass. All right, but he knows what his offensive line is, and that's where it starts to become somewhat of an issue for me with Sark. Is just, and you know what your line is, man. You've got to find some way to move the football, knowing what they are, knowing that they could give up sacks, knowing that we probably can't a lot of routes develop way down the field. For what it's worth, Ryan Wingo absolutely blew by a guy on a go route early in that game, and Arch just underthrew it. We got a PI flag on it, but there's several throws where if Arch just makes, I say 4 or 5 throws where if he makes 2 or 3 of them, Texas probably runs away with this, wins again 14, 17, 20 points. Love Arch Manning and want him to prove the doubters wrong, obviously as much as anybody, man. And so I'm always just going to be honest and call it how I see it. Doesn't mean I don't support and root for the kid. And I mean, I get it, that's the thing, and it's tough because you can play devil's advocate for that, Leo, and say, well, he has no reps. You're going to put him in on the road on the SEC. Well, I mean, we saw what he did against Florida, on that deep end route where he got in there and threw a dot on the only play that he played in that game. Does that mean he's going to sit there and replicate that performance and that throw if he comes in this environment, in this moment, in this spot? Absolutely not. But I'm just letting you guys know where my mind was and that I was at. I was right there because, again, as Mr. Our friend here says, he missed too many throws, and it all goes hand in hand. Questions about Sark, Kyle Flood, which are going to lead to questions about the O-line and Arch Manning. Obviously, there is no innocent party here. Maybe outside of the wide receiver core for the most part, running backs. It's been tough on them. Again, I thought Christian Clark and Trey Weissner did a good job today. You didn't want to see a lot of Trey after the bulk of carries that he had last week. But my goodness, man, it's getting just really, really difficult to believe that we'll find a way to run the ball. We're probably not going to. So what do? Do you spread Arch out, put them in 5 wide and a bunch of, 10 personnel, 0 personnel sets, and pray you can hold up in pass protection? I don't envy Steve Sarkisian's job right now. I honestly don't, because he knows exactly, how much pressure this offense is, because if you put something competent together on that side of the football this year, this is a national championship caliber team because of the defense you have, because of the special teams that you have. But man, we look like an elementary offense. Yeah, not real fun to sit there and think, when Texas takes the field on offense, like, oh shit, here we go again. It's the meme, right? Because you just know at some point in that drive, you're going to be a little pissed off. You're going to be a little bit frustrated. You're going to see some stuff that it feels like day one. And again, we're not college players. We're talking about college players and college coaches, but just stuff that we've seen Texas do so much better in the Sarkisian era than what they're doing right now. And so, yeah, it's a new O-line group. It's a new quarterback. You've got new skill talent at some spots. But this is Texas, and this is Steve Sarkisian, and you've put yourself forward as a championship caliber program in the last few years, and nobody expected this type of step back on the offensive side of the ball. And that step back is what is going to keep you from being a championship caliber program this year. So hard for me to see us sniffing, a perfect finish to end this season. And I think that the floor, looking at this thing, you honestly could be another 3 losses. I don't want that, obviously rooting for improvement, but you gotta give respect to how difficult this November schedule is going to be. And again, I think you'll see a few changes further down the line. We just won the game, and I'm talking about coaching changes. Am I crazy? But somebody's got to. I'm just saying, somebody's got to be held accountable for this offense. You can't get away from it. Lack of discipline, as we're talking about right there. We all love Arch. We all want him to succeed. We love all these dudes. We want it to work. But yeah, I appreciate y'all taking this as just honest critiquing, because that's all that it is. It's not slander towards the kids. I've been a big advocate of Arch, but I will always can try to keep it real. Oh, that's a big question, man. he went through the spring, and I know Sark, he's had a very busy life in the springtime. It's just kind of hard to believe that he could have known it wasn't going to be like this. But when he talked in the camp, when he talked in the fall, man, there seemed to be a beaming amount of confidence throughout the guy. You know, yeah, it is Sark. I get that ding dong, but how many games he's won the last 2 years combined? All right, let's chill out. I get it. We're on the same side right now. We're both critiquing, but the 7-win Sark thing, I mean, that's some Aggie stuff. Come on, brother. Um, what a world we're in right now. Because yeah, I agree. It's hard to imagine this is what could have been for Texas coming into the season, but at the same time, it is what it is right now. Uh, Hard to see the offensive line being good enough for Texas to be a playoff team. It starts with offensive line. It starts with Sark maybe doing the best that he can to find something that they can hold up in protection wise. Do we need to start sending Ryan Wingo on 55, 60-yard post routes on every other play and max protecting and just saying, hey, if we can catch 3 a game, maybe turn one of those into a touchdown, kick up a couple field goals? I'm struggling right now, man. We'll find something that works. Maybe we won't. Maybe we go 7-5. Can't sit there and argue against it right now. Defense is really good. They'll continue to show up. Well, why not now? Take your swings. If we punt on first down every time, we'd punt a lot more. And teams seem to struggle sometimes when we punt, and Jack kicks the shit out of it. So wouldn't be completely opposed to punting on first down. All right, I'm done. No more silly satirical banter. Hopefully Texas figures it out. If not, guys, I mean, it's going to be a big offseason. I think even if they figure it out a little bit, it's still going to be a pretty big offseason. Is what it is. Appreciate y'all watching. Go like the video if you don't mind. It does help me a lot. Texas, Mississippi State next week. What do we get? Who knows? Absolutely nobody. I don't think anybody involved in that game or any of us have a clue what to expect in that one, except hopefully a more focused Texas team, which leads to a little bit more discipline. And maybe just some offensive production. But for now, have a good night. Enjoy your NFL Sundays tomorrow. We'll talk.